Hello and welcome to the Book Bunch. My name is Sam. It is so great to have you guys here for another video. As you can see, I have decided to raid our storage unit and bring up one of my old shelves to put some books on because it's getting a bit out of control. And my mother-in-law is fine with me having it here. So I have decided to make a bit of a nice background for you guys. But today we are talking about 5 sci-fis. One is a dud. And then the other 4 are really, really good reads. I'm pretty sure I gave all of them 5 stars. So yes, if you like sci-fi, this is a good video for you guys. So we'll start with the dud, just because we can get the bad stuff out of the way and go into the good stuff. But I read Ready Player One, and my recommendation to you all is, if it sounds interesting to you, just go watch the movie, because the movie is much better and much more appropriate. So this book was not clean. There was so many things wrong with it. And initially it starts off okay, so you think like it has potential, but then just more and more stuff comes up as you read along. So yeah, there's some sexual stuff that's kind of inappropriate. There ends up being quite a lot of language and use of God's name in vain, and there's a very political message throughout, because I truly believe that the author doesn't like religion very much. So yeah, the movie doesn't have pretty much any of that stuff. Like, from memory, I don't think it was inappropriate at all. Maybe a little bit of swearing, but like nothing bad, because I'm pretty sure it's like a PG or an M15 or something. Like, it's for younger audiences, so it's not as bad as the book. But the actual story, if you take all of that content wise, I still did oh my goodness, did still enjoy. So I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars overall, just because the content just ruined it for me. But the actual story was good. It's about this guy who lives in the future, and in this future, pretty much everyone is in a bad situation except for the rich, because like climate change has come about, and so everyone is living in these like caravan stacks, and no one cares if people die, and it's very a man eat man world. And most people choose to spend their time in this virtual reality place called the Oasis, which is super hyper realistic, and pretty much everyone's job is on the Oasis, and schooling can be done on the Oasis and all sorts of things. And we follow this teenage boy who is in his last year of school, and he is doing his best to win this competition. And there's this competition which was made by the owner of the Oasis in his will, because he recently passed away. And he said, like, hey, I've hidden these Easter eggs throughout this game, this quest basically. And if you can solve the quest, whoever is first will like get the will to my estate and like $200 billion and all of this stuff, and own Oasis. And most people are trying to do it on their own, but then there's this one conglomerate, which is like a super evil corporation, who want to win this competition so that they can monetize the Oasis, because currently it's free for everybody to play. And they want to monetize it crazy and make it a subscription, and basically ruin the spirit of what the Oasis stands for. And so they're kind of the enemy throughout, and they're trying to beat these normal people who are just trying to make their lives a little bit better. And it's very heavy on the 80s nostalgia, lots of references and stuff. So if you like that kind of thing, this one would have been good for you if it wasn't so inappropriate. But yeah, like I said, if you like the sound of the story but don't want the content, I'd recommend just checking out the movie, which you'll very rarely hear me say is go watch the movie instead, but there you go. Then there was Mortal Engines, which I loved this book. I can't wait to read the rest. but this is a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I love this cover of the edition I've got as well. And it is about this boy who lives in like thousands of years in the future. And in the world, all the oceans have dried up, and so most of the major countries in the world have mobilized their cities on these to basically turn them into these giant machines that roam around the world, devouring each other to get bigger and have resources and all the rest of it. And we follow a boy who lives in the like London one, which was like Great Britain, I guess, and he works in a museum. He is an orphan, and he is very loyal to London and the idea of what London kind of stands for, and this whole idea of, yeah, we as cities should devour each other. Like, that's just how things should be. It makes sense for evolving and all the rest of it. But then his idol tries to kill him by throwing him off London, and his whole world is changed because he ends up getting stuck with this girl who is on the run. And yeah, his whole viewpoint is kind of put to the test. And you meet all these different people along the way. And it ends up being a little bit of a split storyline between this boy and then his idol's daughter, who is still on London, and how she finds out what her dad's been doing and all of this stuff. And yeah, it was super interesting. Absolutely loved it. Super steampunky, super cool. Yeah, cannot wait to read the rest of it. And it was completely clean, so that was amazing as well. Then I read Cinder, which I super enjoyed as well. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I am definitely going to get the rest of the series because I really want to know what happens. But yes, this is part of the Lunar Chronicles, and it is a series which is a retelling of all of the classic fairy tales, but they're all set in the same world, and they all have a science fiction twist. So Cinder is a cyborg, I believe she's meant to be Chinese cyborg, and she is living in what used to be China, but is now like this empire because pretty much all of the world ended up becoming one kind of coalition during a major war that happened hundreds of years before this is set. And yeah, she is part of this empire, and she's a mechanic on robots and all of that kind of stuff because she is a cyborg, so she knows how all of that kind of stuff operates. And the reason she's a cyborg is because she was originally like fully human, but then she was in an accident when she was young, and the surgeons made her half robot so that she would still live. And so she's like 30% robot or something like that. Like, she's got one leg and an arm and some other things that are all like cyborg stuff. And she tries to hide it because there's a lot of prejudice in this world. And in this world, cyborgs are not treated to the same level as humans, even though they were humans. And so she is owned by this evil lady and her two daughters. One of the daughters she is friends with, and the other daughter she is not friends with. And there is this like whole plague going around that's been infecting people. And there is the ball that happens that she actually doesn't want to go to the ball. But she's like, everyone's trying to convince her to, so the people that her friends are trying to convince her to, and the people who aren't are forbidding her, like her stepmom. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that happens in this, so I can't really explain it all, but basically she gets caught up in this whole virus situation, but also in this interplanetary situation with the people who live on the moon called lunars, and they're like, they have these powers that can constitute mind control, and she is only kind of finding out about them now through a doctor in this book. But she's put into this program as a cyborg to be tested on to try and find a cure for the disease, and it kind of goes from there. But yes, it's really good. I did a terrible job at explaining it, but I recommend it. And then there is Wolf by Wolf, which was about, how can I explain this? This is about an alternate timeline where Hitler wins the war, and he has a division of scientists working to genetically modify people so that they can be more pure to his Aryan ideal. And so some of the people that go into concentration camps get experimented on, and one of the people that this happens to is this little girl, and it ends up having some side effects they didn't expect, but they also don't know about, and she manages to escape. And then we kind of fast forward to her being an adult, well, not quite an adult, but like a late teen, early young adult kind of age. And the wolf thing is that she's got 5 wolves tattooed on her arm over her concentration camp numbers, because they each represent someone from her past who she wants to remember for a certain reason. And she joins this resistance to take down Hitler, and she gets assigned with the task of assassinating Hitler. And in order to do that, she has to steal the identity of another girl and race in this worldwide competition where they basically have to motorbike around the world, because whoever wins gets to go to a ball where Hitler is. So they want to get her to win this competition so that she can dance with Hitler and then kill him. And it's super interesting. I really did enjoy it. I've already bought book 2 and got book 2 because I need to know how the duology ends, because I believe it's a duology. I haven't heard about a 3rd book coming out. But yes, I am super keen because this one ends on a crazy cliffhanger. Same with Cinder. Cinder ended on a crazy cliffhanger as well. Mortal Engines didn't, so you probably could read this one as a standalone, but I loved the world so much that I want to continue. And then finally was Jinxed, which I just got in my most recent haul, and it was short, and I wanted to try and fit in another book for this video. And this one sounded really interesting when I read the blurb, and I'm so glad I read it because it is a 5 out of 5. It's completely clean, and I've already ordered the 2nd book because I need to know how this one ends, because this one ends on a crazy cliffhanger too. All of these books. This one is just a duology though, so I'm glad I'll be able to like finish it soon. But this is about a young girl. She's 15, and she what happens in this? I'm trying to explain it. I literally just finished reading it, but I'm trying to think of how to explain it. She lives in a world where well, okay, backtrack. She lives in a city that is owned and run by this corporation, and this corporation invented these robot animal companions called Baku. And they are basically you link yourself to them, and they will follow your commands. They work as your source to the internet, so they can, and your phone and all of that. And yeah, they work for your schooling and things like that, in regards to if you need to research something or look something up, that kind of thing. And this 15-year-old girl that we follow, she is obsessed with them, and she is obsessed with this company because they basically have this program where if you get into their university, you're almost guaranteed an internship with this company where you can then go on to work on these robots and creating upgrades for the robots and making them better. And she loves that idea because she is like a crazy inventor. And she is very familiar with these vacuum and how to fix them because she's been tinkering her whole life. And her dad, who is no longer in the picture, used to be one of these people that made these robots. And so she's kind of inherently got his skills. And yeah, she is like determined and has spent her whole life working towards this goal of working for this company. And she goes to check whether or not she gets in, and it says she hasn't made it. But then she ends up, and like all her dreams are crushed, and she's absolutely heartbroken, and she doesn't know what she's gonna do. But then, like the same day, she ends up finding this old vacuum cat thing that's just been abandoned, and it's in really terrible condition. And then she gets another email saying that she's made it into this college and that the previous email was a mistake. So she's super excited again, and she's like, crap, I need a level 3 vacuum if I'm going to go to this college because you have to, it's a requirement. And she didn't have the money to buy one. So she decides, I'm going to fix up this cat because it's a level 3. And if I can fix it up and get it functioning across summer, then when it comes to going to the university, I'll have this animal. So she does just that. She fixes him up. But he is not what she expects and not what he seems. And we basically follow her first, I think it's meant to be a whole year of her at this school. And there is a competition involved where they pit the vacuum against each other. She gets wrapped up in that. But yes, the main focus is about this cat whose name is Jinx. And it's super interesting. And if you like AI or robots or anything like that, or animals, this is really good sci-fi. So I highly recommend that. And it was a really easy read. It is for, like, I believe that one is more like a YA middle grade. But it didn't read too young at all. Like I had a breeze with it. It was so good. And I cannot wait to read the next one. So that is all the sci-fi I have read recently. Sorry for rambling on a little bit and my voice is going. I need to go have some water. But yes, I cannot wait to read some more fantasy for you guys this week because I'm going to go read Wistress, and there's a few others that I need to catch up on. So yes, our next video will be fantasy, so keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you then. Bye!